every story appears ordinary till you see the core side of it.
And what you're looking for is a story behind the news.
We bring it to you from Lagos, the commercial capital of Nigeria.
Giving you all sides and political stories round the clock.
Every detail from the start line to the final whistle.
CoreTV News, expanding your view.
Hello, thank you for joining us on CoreTV Primetime News. I am Frank Omalape in our major story. Nigeria's Supreme Court stopped the National Assembly from amending 1999 Constitution. The Federal House of Assembly constitutes joint committee to probe alleged soldiers' involvement in Plateau killings. And Niger State High Court restrained State House of Assembly from impeaching Governor Babangida Aliyu. And outside Nigeria, millions vote in tightly contested United Kingdom elections. Well, thank you for joining us tonight. The Supreme Court has stopped the National Assembly from taking steps to further amend the 1999 Constitution. The court wants the federal lawmakers to maintain the status quo until June 18, when the matter comes up for hearing. The ruling was delivered on a Thursday morning by a 7-man panel led by the Chief Justice of Nigeria, Justice Mahmood Mohammed. The Supreme Court also ordered that a notice of hearing be served on the principal leaders of the National Assembly to enable them response to the suit filed by President Goodluck Jonathan. The Jonathan administration had on April 27 urged the Supreme Court to issue an order of interlocutory injunction against both chambers of the National Assembly. The government had urged the court to stop the lawmakers from overriding the president's veto after he refused to give his assent to the fourth alteration of the 1999 Constitution. A Niger High Court sitting in Minna has issued an interim injunction restraining the Niger State House of Assembly from impeaching Governor Babangida Aliyu. A presiding judge, Justice Idris Evuti, granted a request on the basis of an affidavit by the State Attorney General Abdullahi Use. The order followed a suit instituted by the governor against the newly installed Speaker of the House, Issa Kawu, the clerk, the Assembly, and 2 others. The court also fixed May 27 for hearing in the matter. Meanwhile, Niger State Governor Babangida Aliyu has gone to court in a bid to stop an alleged move by the State House of Assembly to impeach him. This was after the state legislators successively impeached Speaker Adamu Usman, who is a staunch loyalist of the governor. The court, however, fixed May 27 for hearing in the matter. And now the police have barred the newly sworn-in Speaker of the Niger State House of Assembly, Issa Kawu, from gaining access into the chamber to preside over legislative activities. The entrance to the Assembly was barricaded by armed policemen who stopped the state legislators from entering the legislative complex. A correspondent, Basi Aye, who is just back from Minna, says tear gas was used by the police to disperse the lawmakers.
It was drama galore on Wednesday at the Niger State House of Assembly complex, a day after the erstwhile Speaker, Adamu Usman, was impeached. The new principal officers, led by Issa Kawu, the new Speaker, had turned up to assume office, but that was not to be. And the reason is not far-fetched. Security operatives had sealed off the premises and could be seen swarming the area. The state legislators were ready to stand their ground and demand entry. The new Speaker, however, insists that they should be allowed to perform their functions, since they are not out to cause any mischief.
I think there was some kind of insinuation that maybe something sinister, something unfortunate may happen if the House sat. Well, whatever it would be. To the best of our knowledge, nobody has any plans of the removal of any public officer, particularly governor and deputy governor. We have never talked about it. It's not been debated. It's not on our agenda. But things can easily be misconstrued.
The newly elected legislators described the scenario as shameful, but maintained that change is inevitable.
What is happening at the assembly is not surprising. It's one of the things that we should expect. Always expect the unexpected, but when it comes, when it comes, we know how to handle that.
The practice of today's government, I believe very well it is going to change, because it's very unfortunate that if a policeman will lock a legislator, refusing him to enter his complex is very unfortunate.
In the last couple of days, impeachment of elected government officials appears to have become a great trend. But while those involved are convinced that the actions are right, public commentators remain skeptical, especially coming at the tail end of their tenure. Basia Yu, CoreTV News, Niger.
In the meantime, the Supreme Court has set aside May 27th for judgment in the appeal filed by the governorship candidate of People's Democratic Party Inyola Mishore against the victory of Osun State Governor Ralph Aregbesola in the August 9, 2014 governorship election. A 7-man panel of the APS court led by Justice John Fabi fixed the date for judgment after consult the parties argued their briefs. Counsel to Mishore, Alex Izian, urged the APS courts to set aside the concurrent judgment of the two lower courts which upheld Aregbesola as rightful winner of the election. But the three respondents to the appeals, Governor Aregbesola, his party, the All Progressive Congress, and the Independent National Electoral Commission, wants the courts to dismiss the appeals. Omishore had filed the appeals against the decisions of the Justice Ghana Michelia-led panel of the Court of Appeal in Akure, which on April 2, 2015 affirmed the earlier judgment of the Osun State Governorship Election Petition Tribunal. The police authorities have put in place a special security arrangement for judges and court through the Judges Protection Unit. This follows a directive from Acting Inspector General Police Solomon Arashe to all command police commissioners across the country. Police spokesman Emmanuel Ojukwu said in a statement, thus the Inspector General has ordered the commissioners to immediately set up the unit within their areas of responsibilities. IG Arachi also directed police commissioner to assign assistant commissioners of police in charge of training and development to ensure proper training and orientation for personnel constituting the unit. The Inspector General has also ordered a reduction in the number of police aides attached to civil commissioners nationwide. And now less than 3 weeks to hand over, impeachment sacked and appointment seems to be the priority of the outgoing administration. Our correspondent Toluwashi Adegoke met with some Lagos legal practitioners and tells us why this is so in this report.
The essence of impeachment is for checks and balances between the legislature and executives. The rate at which lawmakers recently serve impeachment notice or make the move is quite alarming and should be looked into.
There is a reason for inserting an impeachment clause in the Constitution. It's not something that you trivialize. At every slightest opportunity, you either want to remove the governor or you want to remove the deputy, and some of the reasons they give for removal is so bizarre. This abuse, of this impeachment provision must be looked into by the incoming government. We must insert, clauses that will ensure that they do not in any way trivialize it.
The latest in the impeachment saga is the Enugu case, where the lawmakers have successfully impeached the Speaker, Eugene Udo, and are making moves to impeach the State Governor, Sullivan Chime. Earlier, the former Inspector General of Police, Suleiman Abba, was sacked by President Jonathan on April 12, 2015, replacing him with Solomon Arase few weeks to hand over. According to this lawyer, fallout of the outgoing administration seems to be the cause of these frictions in some states and federal level.
So many of the things they possibly would have done earlier, they are now beginning to do at the 11th hour. And that is very unfortunate because some of the actions of the outgoing government cannot be sustained. Some of those actions cannot be sustained. And the new administration will review some of those things. It's expected because you cannot gag a man in his own activities. You cannot begin to put in people and ask the new man not to have a second look at such people that you put. Because what if the people are not competent enough to be in that position? Is he going to leave them? He will obviously review all those appointments that are coming very late in time, and then those that are competent enough to hold the appointment, he may be good enough to allow them to carry on.
With less than 3 weeks to hand over, Nigerians hope the new administration will be able to correct the anomalies both in the state and federal level for democracy to thrive in Nigeria. Oluwaseyi Adibuke, CoreTV News, Lagos.
The outgoing President Goodluck Jonathan is insisting that the legacies he's bequeathing to Nigerians would not be easily forgotten. He said this during the commission of 3 major projects of his administration in Abuja. The project includes the Umaru Yar'Adua Expressway, otherwise known as the Airport Road, the main terminal of Abuja Light Rail Project, and the Kubwa Expressway, all in Abuja. Helen Okpara Chukwuike has more in this report presented from our studios.
It's about 3 weeks to the terminal date of the Jonathan administration, but the president is keen on ensuring the completion of many of his projects. The Airport Road expansion project is almost completed, while the Abuja Light Rail is at an advanced stage. President Jonathan is pleased with the quality of work and is sure that the project will have a big impact on the mass transit system.
These road projects really have improved the pace of Abuja tremendously. And people come to Abuja full of praises. If you look at the interchange, really making Abuja a real modern city. We are quite pleased with the progress of work. We'll do our best to see that the commitments of government are met and done well. Congratulations.
And in assessing the projects, President Jonathan insists that they are legacies for posterity. He also expressed hope that the incoming government will uphold and sustain what he described as legacies of his administration.
And this government, even on the 29th of April, the incoming government will definitely continue because this is a noble project to benefit Nigerians, especially residents of the FCT.
For his part, FCT Minister Bala Mohammed noted that the completion of the 2 major highways has reduced travel time along 2 of Abuja's busiest routes.
With a robust financial plan that we bonded about 150 billion for the project, and that is why the timeline was very easy to comply with, and we have been able to take it to 98%. The only remaining portion that is not completed is the bridge behind the Aso Villa. Otherwise, everything has been delivered, and we are trying to look at the challenges of financing because we are owing the contractors about 10-15 billion on the two roads. Thank you, Excellency.
Completion of the 2 expressways have reached 98%, while work on the main rail terminus of the Abuja Light Rail project is put at 69%.
And now President Goodluck Jonathan on Wednesday marked 5 years since he took over the mantle of the nation's leadership. It will be recalled that Jonathan was on May 6 in 2010 inaugurated as the president by the then Chief Justice of Nigeria, Justice Aloysius Kasinalu, that followed the death of May 5, 2010 of the late President Umaru Yar'Adua, who he served for 3 years as vice president. The nation's constitution recommends that the vice president automatically takes over upon the death of the president. After completing Yar'Adua's tenure, Jonathan contested and won the 2011 presidential election but lost his re-election bid in 2015. The president, however, marked the 5th anniversary of his presidency in a low-key manner. As the day coincided with the weekly meeting of the Federal Executive Council, he only asked 2 ministers to pray according to the Christian and Islamic injunctions. And now the main socio-cultural group In southeast Nigeria, Ohanaeze Ndigbo wants President-elect Muhammadu Buhari to reserve the positions of the Secretary to the Government of the Federation for the geopolitical zone. A delegation of the socio-political group made this appeal during a courtesy call on the President-elect in Abuja. A team which was led by Rav Obiora also told the President-elect that the election in the southeast was marred by irregularities responding. The incoming president pledged to look into the claims, but also urged the group to remain committed to a peaceful Nigeria. You're still watching CoreTV Primetime News. We take a break now. We'll be back with more stories after this time. I'll do join us again.
Any tribe that rules has solid rules.
Rule number 1, friends stay close. Friends in the tribe, stay closer. Feel me?
Rule number 2, in the tribe, you always know what's up with Facebook, WhatsApp, BB, and Twitter. Guess what? It's free.
Rule number 3, there are no rules with SMS. It's endless. Yes, boss.
Rule number 4, enjoy very long conversations with that special someone.
Enjoy endless connections to your friends with free calls, free WhatsApp, Twitter, Facebook, and BBM. You also enjoy up to 200% bonus on your recharges to call all networks. Migrate now by dialing *312# and start a live endless connections.
Airtel, the smartphone network.
You're still watching CoreTV Primetime News live from our Lagos studios. If you just joined us, a quick reminder of our top stories. Nigeria's Supreme Court stopped the National Assembly from amending 1999 Constitution. The Federal House of Assembly constitutes joint committee to probe alleged soldiers' involvement in Plateau killings. The Niger State High Court restrained State House of Assembly from impeaching Governor Babangida Aliyu. You can also interact with us on our social media platforms, like our Facebook page is facebook.com/CoreTV News. You can also follow at CoreTV News NG. Also for live streaming, log on to youtube.com/CoreTV with a space, the news. And our national chairman of the People's Democratic Party, Adamu Mozo, has dared Ekiti State Governor Ayodele Fauci to release evidence of his alleged collaboration with the All Progressives Congress. Mozo, who is not at present in the country, threw the challenge via his Twitter handle on Thursday. I have wondered if the evidence the Ekiti governor claimed to have would not be like the one he tabled to show that the president-elect Muhammadu Buhari was in a London hospital at the time he went to deliver a lecture at the Chatham House. And now the dismissal of Babatunde Loconte, the permanent secretary in Ekiti State Ministry of Establishments, brings to 9 the number of permanent secretaries relieved of their duties since the inception of the Ayodele Fauci's 6-month-old administration. Citing various reasons for their sack, the governor also issues 10 warning to civil servants in the states to abstain from politics, even as labor unions have been severally used by the government during the impeachment Thursday. Our correspondent Rashid looks at the place of civil servants in Ekiti politics. His report.
At the May Day celebration in Ado-Ekiti, Governor Ayodele Fauci read the Riot Act to civil servants involved in partisan politics. But in retrospect, labor unions have severally been used to rally support for Governor Fauci as the impeachment saga in the state lingers.
This job is given to you by God to survive in trying times. Please stay away from politics. Please stay away from politics. It will interest you that some civil servants are EXCO members of political parties.
In 1999 to 2003, Niyi Adebayo governed this state. He had no problem. He finished his tenure.
They did not allow Yofauche to finish the tenure. That was problem. Segun Oni came. They did not allow Segun Oni to finish his tenure. Kayode Fayemi came to this state. He finished his tenure. There was no problem. Now, everybody voted massively for the governor in place.
Babatunde Aloko, who was until his sack the permanent secretary in the Ministry of Establishment, was allegedly relieved of his duty because former Governor Kayode Fayemi attended his father's burial. The allegation was, however, countered by the head of service, who claims the governor has right to retire Aloko.
What happened in the state was the retirement of one permanent secretary. The appointment of officers of that level is at the pleasure of the governor. In the same manner, the remover.
With 9 permanent secretaries lost to politics and scanty attendance at the Ekiti media celebrations, political pundits observe that politics is gradually defining the Ekiti State Civil Service. Rashid, CoreTV News, Ado Ekiti.
As his tenure winds down, Lagos State Governor Babatunde Fashola has apologized to residents who felt the negative impact of his policies of administration. Fashola, who stated this at an event marking his 2,900 days in office, disclosed that every policy of his government was tailored towards providing a greater goods to governance to greater number of residents. Our correspondent Abiola Oluwole has pointed this report from our studios.
The 100-day account of stewardship is a tradition adopted by Governor Fashola to update residents about government policies, and marking the 2,900 days in office is in continuation of such tradition. Speaking on the stride of his administration in the last 100 days in office, Fashola says all decisions taken by his government were made to ensure good governance for residents.
To those that I may have offended, I apologize. On a daily basis, for 2,900 days, I made decisions in attending to hundreds, if not millions of files that I attended to daily. I took those decisions in the best interest of Lagos, based on the facts as presented to me. I could not have got all of them right. It was impossible.
Reacting to Apapa traffic gridlock caused by tanker drivers, Fashola blamed the inability of federal government to transport fuel through the rail system to avoid the recurrence of the traffic challenge.
I hope that we will be able to transport fuel properly over the next few years by rail. More importantly, I hope that we will stop the idea where the whole nation depends on only one source, or substantially only one source for fuel. What we have now in Apapa that is causing pain is that there are over 6,000 tankers in Apapa today trying to lift fuel to supply every part of Nigeria.
As Fashola prepares to pass on the baton to the incoming administration on 29th of May 2015, the expectation of residents, according to political watchers, is a state government that will continue to place premium on the spread of dividends of democracy.
And now the Nigerian Air Force is convinced that recent aerial bombardment of Boko Haram's positions has substantially reduced the group's ability to carry out coordinated attacks in any part of the country. A chief of air staff, Adeshola Mosu, attributes this to the success of intelligence missions and the readiness of troops to range the insurgency after initial setbacks. He was speaking at a news conference to herald the 51st anniversary of the Nigerian Air Force in Abuja. We apologize, we might have to bring it later on. Away from that, now the House of Representatives has mandated its committees on defense, army and human rights to investigate the alleged role of soldiers in recent killings in some communities in Plateau State. The decision by the lower chamber was prompted by a motion by Ahmed Idris representing the affected area. In raising the motion, Idris claimed that gunmen dressed in what looked like the uniform of the Nigerian army stormed a number of communities in Wasi with over 40 trucks. The House committees, which are expected to liaise with the military and members of the affected community, ought to turn in a report within 2 weeks. The House also mandated the National Emergency Management Agency to mobilize its personnel and resources to the affected areas to conduct damage assessment as well as provide necessary relief materials to victims. And our Governor Jonah Jang of Plateau State has denied any involvement in the killing of citizens during clashes between militia groups and the military. Scores of people died amid reports Jang had deployed the military. The governor said it is a height of irresponsibility for anyone to envisage that for political reasons, a governor will connive with soldiers to kill his subjects. His executive assistant on media, Clinton Garba, said. He said it was widely known that neither the men of the Special Task Force or the police take orders from him. They are both controlled from Abuja by the Defense Headquarters and the Force Headquarters, respectively. It will insinuate that the Plateau State government has a hand in the matter is only a ploy to taint the image of the governor and the state government, the governor's spokesperson said. Meanwhile, Garba disclosed that the State Emergency Management Agency SEMA had been mandated to bring relief to the affected communities where over 500 were reported massacred. Barely 48 hours after the Taro community in Wasi, local government in the southern senatorial district of Plateau State alleged that over 500 of their people were killed by security operatives in a night raid that lasted for hours. No fewer than 35 persons have been confirmed dead in another fresh attack by unknown gunmen suspected to be Fulani herdsmen in 2 villages in Barikin Ladi in the northern senatorial zone of the state. Loma, who is the Argonne chairman of the state, condemned the attack and accused security agencies of not protecting the lives of the citizens of the council. He lamented the incessant attacks in the locality and challenged security agencies, especially the Special Task Force, to take decisive steps towards arresting the attackers.
Federal government, take steps, and security agencies, rise up to the challenge to curtail this ugly situation.
When contacted, the police public relations officer of the state, DSP Emmanuel Abu, said there was an attack in the aforementioned areas but couldn't give the casualty level. Meanwhile, the Special Task Force keeping the peace in Plateau State said it had recovered 2 bodies out of the 3 missing soldiers at Kuromi, a border village between Taraba and Plateau. STF spokesman Iweha Ikedichi said this to pressmen in an interview in Wasi, local government area, where 500 were alleged to have been massacred by the Nigerian army. It was reported that on April 28, a militia group allegedly killed 6 soldiers at Kurumuni village and 3 others went missing. The continuous attacks by suspected militia group worsened as 9 soldiers were involved, which prompted this STF in collaboration with the 3 armored divisions to locate and engage the group in a battle on Saturday. It is stated that 2 bodies of missing soldiers were found during operation in Kuromi, Wadata and Kadarko communities, but they are still searching for the remaining soldiers with prayers that they are still alive. Minister of Interior Abamoro has refuted claims of government involvement in the removal of names of some victims of the immigration recruitment stampede from the list of beneficiaries. The minister, who was speaking to journalists in Abuja, explained that necessary effort had been made and is still being made to ensure that none of the affected persons is shortchanged. He therefore stated that those protesting or making accusations are not justified. And following the execution of 4 Nigerians, among other foreign nationals in Indonesia, over drug-related crimes.
For Indonesian President Joko Widodo, who came into office,
8 more Nigerians and again on death row in Indonesia for the same crime. In Lagos, Patience Ajiboye brings reactions of some Nigerians on the Indonesian law and what role the federal government can play to reduce the involvement of Nigerians.
for Indonesian President
Joko Widodo, who came into office in November 2014. The only way to curb drug trafficking is by execution. It was therefore a simple case of following the law when last week he ordered execution of drug convicts by firing squad, despite international pleas for clemency. And out of the 8 foreigners executed, Nigeria had the largest number of 4. And again, the Indonesian government has revealed that 8 Nigerians are still on death row for drug trafficking. Although the Nigerian government has asked for the bodies of those slain, some Nigerians think more can be done by the government rather than just sit and wait for the bodies to be sent back home, and that the penalty is too harsh. They should be allowed to come home and face the consequences of their actions instead of being killed there.
It's Nigeria's duty to give them all information as to what is happening in other countries, and whatever is happening in other countries should be a stringent measure that should be placed on their citizens, not to contravene their law, and to ensure things are put in place before traveling to all those countries. That's just it.
So it's uncalled for. Let Jonathan do something to this, because this is another thing entirely. So by 2 years now, they'll be bringing our people, killing them like chicken. So let us just try it, and our government, please and please, let's be effective over there, because they see us. We don't have quick response on everything that happens to us, and each day, each time, each year we keep remitting, and that gives us a lack of control.
It's not the right thing for somebody to do. But one thing again, we should think of God. We all sin every day, and God is so merciful; He does not treat us that way. And that is a sign that that kind of government, they don't actually know God in those kind of environment. You see, so what they need to do is to preach the word of God to such kind of people, and it may be better for them.
Legal practitioner and former chairman of Lagos chapter of the Nigerian Institute of Public Relations, Jide Ologun, says it is no point crying over spilled milk, as the executions show that there are still countries who adhere to the rule of law. However, while not saying crime is an option in an economy as Nigeria's, the government can curb cases of crime home and abroad.
We are not saying that we have the choices of going into crime, but then perhaps they wouldn't have, gone into that if there were other alternatives to making ends meet, like we say.
While the convicts count their days, there are lessons to be learned by Nigeria's federal government and Nigerians generally, as they come to realize that a whole lot of mishap can be avoided when every party does the right thing. Patience Ajiboye, CoreTV News, Lagos.
Students of the University of Ibadan have blocked the Mokola Ojo Road in the Oyo State capital, protesting the alleged death of a student. Details of the student death remain sketchy as of the time of filing this report on Thursday morning. It was, however, learned that the student was said to have suffered an asthmatic attack overnight, but was allegedly not attended to at the school clinic until he died. Tension was enveloped the institution's gate and environs, while shop owners in Agbo Market have stayed off the area. And following the recent protest staged by students of the University of Lagos over weeks of power outage in the school and unavailability of water supply, amongst other challenges coming at the wake of the commencement of the first semester examination, the university management has adjusted the academic section by 1 week for students to adequately prepare for the exams. The release, which came as after the students registered their displeasure state of happenings in the institution, reads that the shift in date is as a result of the effects of the convocation ceremonies as well as these challenges experienced with power and other allied services in the last 1 week. Though no official solutions to the problems was provided. The students have Monday 11 May to Friday 15 May to revise for their exams. You're still watching CoreTV Primetime News. We take another break now. We'll be back with business, sport and other stories. Do join us again.
Every day of the week will bring to you divergent views on news making the headline.
If people who commit crime are being rewarded with national honors, with national appointments, then where are we going in this country?
It's not about whether it was Jonathan
or whether you are going to have a Buhari. It's the kind of political structure we run.
Sometimes it gets confrontational.
We are talking about a Buhari who at 41 became head of state. The man did not exhibit the attribute of somebody that is strong intellectually.
So, comrade, you're saying if you become governor, you're going to bring back Okada? You will bring back the market women on the streets?
They don't put words into my mouth.
On Core Digest, we bring all of this to the court of public opinion, where you are the judge.
And in business now, consumers in Nigeria have been accused of being unchallenged in demanding the rights from manufacturers and services providers, which in turn has resulted in recurrence of substandard goods and services in the Nigerian market. The Lagos State chapter of the Nigerian Institute of Public Relations recently advocated for consumer protection as it called on manufacturers to desist from substandard production or discuss as its second stage conference with the team the Nigerian consumer rights, duties and obligations. Our correspondent Omotayalo has more in this report.
Mankind will always be consumers, hence the need for adequate consumer protection awareness. With the current rate of infiltration of substandard products into the Nigerian market, the need for consumer protection awareness cannot be overemphasized. And this is what brought together media stakeholders, manufacturing companies, service providers, and consumers in the gathering to discuss challenges affecting Nigerian consumers with a view to finding solutions. At the forefront of the discussion is the head of Mass Communication Department, University of Lagos, Abigail Ogweze Indisika, who challenged consumers to fight for their rights.
They promise us you can borrow credit, but nobody has ever told you that you have 10% surcharge. So there is a lot of dealing that it is only in this country that consumers are taking for granted.
On the part of the service provider, consumers should be considerate and learn to exercise patience.
So we are trying to solve all the problems, because if you say you want to break your SIM because MTN is not working, Airtel is working, you might come to MTN. The particular day you came to Airtel, sometimes the network will be bad too. So all we need to do is to be patient.
As his contribution, Tamunokobia, the Lagos State Director Consumer Protection Council, insists that consumer education and implementation would help stem the tide of consumers' right abuse in the country.
Over time, issues that Nigerians will want to let go, today they will raise them, even if it's something like 5 naira. We've had complaints on such issues, and it tells us that Nigerians are getting more and more enlightened. They're getting more and more aware of their rights.
The convener of the conference, Joseph Okoma, says public relations have a huge role to play in promoting the rights of Nigerian consumers. Otherwise, the injustice will continue if ignorance prevails.
We ask, we demand for our rights, and they give us what is our right. So we must ask, we must demand. And don't forget that nobody ever relinquishes power or authority or something that is beneficial without you demanding. So we have to demand that these are our rights, and that's why we have taken pains to bring these regulators here.
The gathering also urged consumers not to shy away from reporting manufacturers in the practice of producing fake and substandard products. Omotayalo, CoreTV News, Lagos.
It's now time to join Sabena Izoku for Stock Market Report.
CoreTV News Stock Market Report.
Hello there, and welcome to the Stock Market Report segment with me, Sabena Izuku. The equities market on the floor of the Nigerian Stock Exchange ended on a negative note today as Nigerian All-Shares Index depreciated by 0.09% to close at 34,400.57 basis points. The market capitalization declined to close at 11.68 trillion naira. In all, a total volume of 330.5 million units of shares valued at 3.7 billion naira were exchanged in 5,238 deals. On the gainer side, Seplat topped the chart, followed by Equitrust National Incorporation, Capstone, West African Production Company, and United Africa Company of Nigeria. And on the flip side, Nestle topped the chart, followed by Guinness, Dangote Cement, 40 Oil, and Cement Company North of Nigeria. And for the top trade chart, the financial institution topped the chart, starting with Access Bank, United Bank for Africa, Guarantee Trust Bank, Sterling Bank, and Zenith Bank. Just before we wrap up the stock market report, here's the currency trade for today. I am Savannah Izuku.
CoreTV News Stock Market Report.
Thank you very much, Savannah. Over to sports now. Nigeria's senior national team maintained their 45th position in the latest FIFA World Ranking release on Thursday. The African champions were adjudged the same rank in the world according to the ranking release earlier in April. The Eagles are now the 8th ranked African side behind Algeria, Cote d'Ivoire, Ghana, Tunisia, Senegal, Cape Verde and Guinea. Meanwhile, Algeria remained at the summit of African football with 917 points, which puts them in the 20th positions in the world, while Cote d'Ivoire is second in Africa and ranked 23rd in the world. The top 17 positions are unaltered from last month, which means that Germany, first unchanged, continue to lead the way ahead of Argentina, comes second, and Belgium third unchanged. The next FIFA Coca-Cola World Ranking will be published on 4 June 2015. And now Luis Enrique hailed Lionel Messi's goal in Barcelona's 3-0 UEFA Champions League semi-final first leg win over Bayern Munich as works of art, but was quick to praise the performance of the entire team. Messi marked his 100th appearance in European football, and former coach Pep Guardiola's return to Camp Nou on Wednesday with a delightful double before Neymar's injury time strike effectively puts the tie beyond doubt. This Argentina forward's first goal came via a vicious left-footed drive in the 77th minute, and 3 minutes later he doubled the lead with a wonderful solo run and lob finish over Bayern goalkeeper Manuel Neuer. Luis Enrique said this is a perfect result, one that takes us close to a possible final, but we have to wrap it up in the return leg. End of quote. And outside Nigeria now, millions of people have begun casting their vote in the United Kingdom general elections. A polls open at around 50,000 polling stations across the UK, which will remain open until 10 or 22 hours. A total of 60 or 650 Westminster's MPs will be elected, with about 50 million people registered to vote. As well as the general elections, there are more than 9,000 council seats being contested across 279 English local authorities. Mayors will also be elected in Bedford, Copeland, Leicester, Mansfield, Middlesbrough and Tobre. But the first time people have been able to register to vote online, most polling stations are run in schools, community centers and parish halls. But publics and a laundrette and a school bus will also be used. A handful of seats are expected to be declared by midnight, with the final result expected on Friday afternoon. Well, and that's it on CoreTV Prime Time News. Just before we go, a recap of our major headlines. We told you that Nigeria's Supreme Court stopped the National Assembly from amending the 1999 Constitution. We also brought to you the Federal House of Assembly constitutes joint committee to probe alleged soldiers' involvement in Plateau killings. Niger State High Court restrains State House of Assembly from impeaching Governor Babangida Aliyu. And outside Nigeria, millions vote in tightly contested United Kingdom elections. And that wraps us up tonight. Many thanks for watching. On behalf of the entire news crew, I am Frank Malape. Bye for now.